Last week I went and saw The Boogeyman. Is this a movie that you could take your whole family to for a good frightening thrill time at the theater, or do you need to lock this away in your closet and never hear from it again? I've got some thoughts about this. Welcome to the Cinefanatics. My name is Robert Adams, and I am here with a spoiler-free review for The Boogeyman. This is a 2023 horror film based off of a Stephen King short story. This story came from a 1973 novel called Night Shift. And if you're not familiar with Stephen King or any of his books, this is an anthology book just made up of a bunch of short stories. This one book alone is responsible for so many Stephen King adaptations, including Maximum Overdrive, Sometimes They Come Back, Children of the Corn, The Manglers. Just so many movies have come off of this one book by itself. It's amazing. So yeah, it's in good company, at least in the book form. How is it in the movie form? Well, first of all, I'm going to let you know, if y'all are used to this channel, you may be used to seeing, like, whenever I do a horror movie review or like a trailer reaction, my lights are typically red. I'm in a red shirt. It's all dark and creepy and spooky. I don't have that this time, and you know why? This movie isn't scary. Now, I'm saying that as a complete horror fan. I am a fan of like good suspenseful horror, and also of horror movies that are just over the top, torture porn, gore, Saw, Terrifier, all of those kinds of movies. I absolutely love the special effects out of those as well. So I like movies that do a good job of leaving it to your imagination, but I also really love the movies that just push the limits of the special effects, especially practical. And this movie doesn't do that. This is a PG-13 horror movie. This movie is fantastic. If you are not a horror fan, it's a nice kind of little gateway into that horror realm to kind of sink your teeth into, suck some blood that there's none of in this movie for the most part. And yeah, it's a very approachable movie to most people. That is why I'm going to be a little bit harsher on this, because I do come from a background of I just really love some good horror movies. Yes, this movie has some suspense to it. It has some intrigue, but I think it's very light on that, in my opinion. And again, this is just my opinion. Everyone's entitled to theirs. What's yours? Let me know down below in the comments. Again, right off the bat, this is based off of a Stephen King story, which Stephen King's been having a hell of a renaissance lately with all these shows and movies. You got the Castle Rock TV show, you got the It movies, you got the Mike Flanagan directed Stephen King movies, which he's doing fantastic with that, with Gerald's Game and Dr. Sleep, and I highly recommend check out both of those. But this movie does tend to fall into what I'm seeing more and more happening in horror movies. Is you've got the spirit, the creature, the evil entity is going after people that have been through some sort of trauma. And this is a very, very popular recurring trope. It's as if you have gone through some kind of trauma, your spirit, your emotions, you're weakened, you're not as strong of a human being, so therefore you are an easy target for some evil spirit or being or creature to attack you. And that's the whole point of this, because almost everyone has something slightly traumatic in their lives, whether it's a loved one passed away, or you were constantly bullied in school that kind of messes with your mental state on some things, and it's very hard for you to interact with normal human beings. No example on that. This is something that I feel I see a lot of, and I've seen it done in much better ways in other movies. I've also seen it done a lot worse. So this one, I mean, when it comes to that trope, this one isn't that bad, but it could have been a little bit better. As far as the look and feel of this movie, Rob Savage is the director of this, who also directed the 2020 Host, which got rave reviews. This movie in particular, though, was supposed to go onto a streaming service, but after positive preview screenings, it was given a full theatrical release. This movie is really dark as far as the lighting goes, especially when it comes to the weird boogeyman, Slender Man type creature. It's very hard to see him. The editing is quick paced, and you see this a lot in VFX heavy movies, especially CGI movies. They're trying to hide the imperfections in their digital renditions of creatures or special effects. Notably, the one I usually talk about a lot will be Transformers, when all the robots are fighting and you really can't tell the difference between an arm, a leg, or neck, or whatever. It's just a bunch of metal clashing together and you can't make heads or tails of it. So stuff like that happens in this as well. You never really get a good full look at the creature. There's times where he flashes up on the screen and your brain's like, okay, I think I saw his face, but it's not long enough for you to actually register what exactly you saw. Like, what did his eyes look like? What size of his nose? Like, were the teeth dirty? And like, I think I saw a hand. I don't know, but like that's what you're dealing with in this movie. Which, I mean, if you're gonna put a creature in the movie, I want to see the creature. Best example for that was last year, 2022's Smile. There was a creature involved in that, and we didn't see it in some cases, but we saw a really good shot at the end, and that payoff was fantastic. That was super creepy looking. So I do like it when it pays off, but I don't feel like we got a good payoff on the way this creature looked. It's just some skinny, slender man looking figure that is terrorizing this family. As far as the story for this goes, going back to that Stephen King short story that this is based off of, what's weird about this movie is that short story is based off, it tells the story of a completely different family. Like, we get to see that family from the story, but that's not the main focus of this movie. The story, the book, was focused on a whole nother family that we get introduced at the very beginning of this movie, but we don't get any real information about them. And we're focused on some other completely different family, and I don't know why. Like, the story that happens in the book, that's interesting. I want to see a movie on that. Not the movie that we get out of this. They took all the interesting things and completely pushed it aside so we could focus on an entirely different family. And again, it's weird. I don't know why, but that was the choice that they made, and here's the review that you get because of it. If I'm going to say anything positive about this, right off the bat, the first thing I want to say is the acting, specifically from Vivian Lyra Blair. If you're not familiar, she was the little girl that played Princess Leia in the Obi-Wan Kenobi Disney Plus show, and if you're familiar with that show, you already know she did a banger job in that TV show. And she does a phenomenal job in this. If anything, she's in a completely different movie. I don't know who wrote her script or if they let her ad-lib or what, but she's witty, she's funny, she shows emotion appropriately. She is the perfect little girl, little kid for this kind of situation, and she was easily the best part of this entire movie. The other one that I kind of like also was David Dastmalchian. He fortunately was severely underused, but what little bit of screen time he gets in this movie, he comes off perfectly. He is meant to be giving you the driving force of what's really scary and creepy, and he does a phenomenal job. And I think that might have to do a little bit with his previous background and knowledge about the Boogeyman.
Baba Yaga, the witch. They tell stories to children to frighten. You know Baba Yaga?
The other big acting standouts, you got Sophie Thatcher as the older sister. She's alright. She just plays, a very stereotypical, I'm a teenager that has some trauma in my life, and I'm just trying to deal with that, on top of now I gotta deal with this creepy-ass boogeyman thing that's haunting our family. She really is the focal point of the whole movie, but serviceable, I would say. She does a good job, but it's just nothing really standing out to me. And then, of course, the other one, again, that I feel really bad about is Chris Messina. I feel bad about this because it just looks like he's just there. Yes, he's the father of these two girls, also has recently gone through the same trauma, and you can see there's definitely scenes where they play on that. You can see his feelings and emotions and everything that he's dealing with, but it seems very basic that he's just there to look sad and kind of give some parental advice here and there, but has no real long-lasting effect on the actual story for this movie. Again, in contrast to the book, where his part is wildly different in that short story. And I highly recommend go read that story if you want to know what I mean, especially if you watch this movie and then go read the book. You're going to be like, why? Why did they change it? That's so weird. I want to see the book in the movie. The other thing about Chris Messina that kind of disappoints me is I just got done rewatching Air, which is quite possibly one of my favorite movies of 2023 so far, and his character in that was phenomenal. I loved him in Air. I don't know what happened here, so... I like Chris Messina normally, but yeah, he just doesn't bring it in this role, and that was kind of disappointing. So otherwise, yeah, it's a serviceable movie, sure. If you're not a horror fan, have at it. It's a good movie. You want to go sit in the dark for an hour and a half and have like a bunch of jump scares because it's PG-13, so no blood, no gore, barely any bad language. It's just an okay movie. It's just there. But if you're a true horror fan, this is not going to cut it for you. So anyways, that's going to be my review for this. Out of a rating of 10, I would probably give this movie like a 3. Like, in all honesty, it was okay, but I'm probably never going to watch this again. So go read the story. It would be my actual recommendation. So yeah, that's going to do it for this review. Again, what did you think of this movie, or how does it look to you? If you've seen the trailer, let me know down below in the comments. While you're down there, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. We're doing all kinds of fun things over here on the Cinefanatics, so make sure you come follow us on social media. We are at the Cinefanatics on Twitter and Instagram. You can follow me personally at Robert Adams MLP on Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd, and youtube.com/@RobertAdamsMLP. Anyways, that does it for this video. We'll see you in the next one. Goodbye. Do you know the Baba Yaga?